Hey guys, Will here with some new raiding news from the recent press events. First off, Tier 17 will have 17 bosses, which is one more than they announced at BlizzCon. So the first two raids in Warlords of Draenor will be Highmaul, a 7-boss Ogre raid, and Blackrock Foundry, a 10-boss Iron Horde Orc raid. They've stated that the biggest problem in Mists of Pandaria raids was the linearity, so the raids in Warlords of Draenor will be much less linear. You'll have a lot more choice in where you can go in terms of which bosses you want to do on any given night. They say Highmaul is similar in layout to Firelands, and Blackrock Foundry will be like ICC in terms of it will have wings and things like that. The first raid will open the second week, like Pandaria did, and then a few weeks later, Blackrock Foundry will open. Kinda like Heart of Fear and Terrace opened up, but you won't have to clear Highmaul to get into Blackrock Foundry, unlike how you had to clear Heart of Fear to get into Terrace. Raid Finder will be gated as usual, it'll be delayed by a few weeks and then it will open up in wings. I think the reason they do that is because they really want the raiders to actually, go with guilds and things like that, to really get the first look at it. They don't want to spoil it for those people, because I do feel like the addition of Raid Finder kind of hurt exclusivity of raiding quite a bit, and so by delaying Raid Finder they can kind of keep that in just for the initial wave, so you feel some incentive. You're like, if I actually want to see this raid, I either have to wait a bit or I have to go with my guild. And I think that works, and that's pretty cool. I like it. I know people who just do LFR are like, why would you delay it? But it keeps raiding a little bit more special. Because they're adding flexible scaling to normal mode raiding, that means the loot chance when you're not using the personal loot system will be based on the number of players in the raid eligible for loot. So, because lockouts now work like flex in the new raids, you can do a raid multiple times in the same week, so you can still do a boss, but you just won't be eligible for loot. Kind of like how you can do LFR or flex multiple times, because everything will have that flexible technology now. And so, let's say you have a group of 10 people, then there will be, 2 pieces of loot. But if you add, like, say, a group of 14 people, you might have a chance for another piece of loot, based on the number of players you add in. They want to add more interesting raid mechanics for tanks and healers, as opposed to the taunt on X stacks mechanics, or the spam buttons of AoE healing. They think Malkarok is a good example of a good healing fight. I've definitely heard a lot of positive things from healers about Malkarok. I don't heal myself, but it definitely seems interesting with the shielding and stuff like that. I've heard a lot of people say that Pandaria healing overall has been pretty boring, and they question if the green bar game, the whack-a-mole thing of healing, is really fun anymore, and it's kind of not compared to how other games are doing healing. So I don't think we'll see it completely revamped, but I think that more interesting healing mechanics are on the radar. World bosses will be returning once again. They think that they worked out fairly well. One of the new world bosses will be a giant stone Gruon, like Gruul or Durn the Hungerer, but even larger. The second world boss will be a giant plant that lives in Tanan Jungle. Sounds pretty savage. And of course world bosses will be added in later patches, and their loot will be equivalent to the new raids, just like how Nalik and Ordos, those guys were added later. They say that Pandaria world bosses, while they worked well, didn't quite work out as intended. Definitely Galleon and Undasta, those two especially. They were meant to be rare and hard to kill by like only the top guilds in the server, but they just ended up being zerged down or camped for weeks on end, especially for Galleon early on, and it just didn't really work out the way they wanted. I kinda question if a hard world boss is even possible anymore. Everyone just get a group of 40 people and just go to town on them, so why even bother trying to make the hard ones? Just let them be the free loot. They're a nice little fun experience. I definitely think world bosses are more fun than like Baradin Hold was in Kata. Things like the world bosses, they really get people out in the world, even if just for a few minutes to go zerg a boss down. I think it's okay. Not all warlords will have their own raid, which isn't too surprising. I mean, we don't really see 6 raids in expansions anymore, so that's kind of to be expected. One of the recent things we've heard is that ner'zhul will not be a raid boss, but a 5-man dungeon boss in Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, which is pretty surprising. I kind of expected him to be a raid boss, because, I don't know, he seems like a very important character to me, at least in our original timeline he was the original Lich King, and he's one of my favorite characters, so seeing him turned into a dungeon boss, I'm not a big fan of it. One of the other interesting pieces of information about the Warlords is that Gul'dan might not necessarily be an enemy. Blizzard has stated that he might not be an enemy, and in fact could be an ally against the Iron Horde. Now, I kinda find that hard to believe, because Gul'dan has always been this very evil warlock character, pretty much irredeemable. He always seeks out, power in any form, and so I find it hard to believe that we could really ally with this guy. Maybe it'll be kind of like the Claxy thing, how we were friends for a little bit, but in the end, both of our true motivations were very different and we had to kill each other. I kind of think that's how we'll ally with Gul'dan. Anyway, that's all the real rating news for this week, so that's all from me for now. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.